Well, lunatics, we are live, or I think we're live. I don't know. The last 10 minutes have been kind of exciting. But when I see this Facebook notification, I do know that I'm live. So that's actually a little bit encouraging. So normally, obviously, Mike and I can have a little bit of a buffer time going through this and seeing what we can do to start our watch parties, but starting the watch party now and see how this is going. Although I'm seeing that maybe it's going a little slower than I hope. So I'm going to go ahead and try to clean up a couple of things here because I'm seeing it's a little bit choppy. We could use a couple comments in the chat here from the lunatics to confirm that it's not nearly as choppy as I seem to be seeing here, but uh, who knows what's happening? Um, boy, oh boy, lunatics, please give me a shout in the chat here and let me know if things are just going headed south really, really bad at the moment. Because I'm getting something that says we're having trouble playing the video, and all it takes is Mike being gone for one day. Our loyalist lunatic, I think Mike Loaf, can normally help out. But oh, good. So lunatics are saying it's not choppy. That's pretty promising. So we'll see what ends up happening when I mix things up here in just a little bit. But we're gonna have a little bit shorter show today, um, and uh, and just as a programming note, I think tomorrow will be a day off, and then hopefully on Monday we'll be back with Mike Loaf and having celebrated this great country that we live in, which I'm pretty happy to be talking about here just in a few minutes. So, with that in mind, let's see if we can make it get really choppy here for a moment and start the show. Okay, this is okay. We're going to do it, I promise. Welcome to hotlou. Okay, I'm not going to do it. Well, maybe I'll be back here in a moment. We'll see. But I know you all missed the bat. So, anyway, welcome to hotlou Happy Hour. I'm your host, Lou Abramowski, or somewhat solely. I don't know how to say that. Is it solely known as hotlou? But here we are. We have kind of just two rough topics to talk about today. The first one being I am thrilled to talk about the new mayor of Wokedale, and I have to also ask the lunatics here, and let's start this out with asking this because I have been making the mistake occasionally, and of calling it the mayor of Wokeville, mayor of let's do this blank. So I started out calling it the mayor of Wokedale, specifically because there's an eastern suburb outside of the Twin Cities named Oakdale. And that Oakdale suburb was kind of the pun that I was using with Wokedale. But I keep finding myself um, accidentally saying Wokeville. And almost everybody I talk to also says Wokeville. So I'm going to throw this poll up so people who are watching the hotlou.com stream are going to be able to see that. But or leave a comment. If you don't see the poll because you're watching through one of the watch parties, just leave a comment. I'd like to know whether you call it the mayor of Wokedale or the mayor of Wokeville or what sounds better to you. That's the big question of the day. But either way, mayor of Wokeville or Wokedale does not do this one justice today. And hopefully you guys saw the promo. I'm very excited. But today's mayor of Wokeville or Wokedale really needs a larger title. And I, I have to say that I am pleased and excited about this one because this one probably deserves like some sort of president of the Woke-verse. Because this one, I think all of you lunatics are really gonna really enjoy this one, and then maybe we'll talk. Um, okay, so the lunatics so far, votes are coming in 50-50, some on the Wokedale, some on the Woke bill front. But the new mayor of, let's call it Wokedale for now, is none other than this person that I really enjoyed looking up to once upon a time, or maybe I just had a gigantic crush on her growing up. But this person is none other than Alyssa Milano. And here's the, I think, something that a lot of people have gotten behind, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit, even though we have touched on it just a little bit. But Alyssa Milano says, this cause is close to my heart. Please sign, and change it or shares some link to what I imagine is some sort of petition. I didn't look at it in my own defense. Um, but the changing the mascot name of the Washington Redskins over to something else, as we've talked about, what the Washington D.C. Redskins have about 3 problems in their name between the Washington, the Columbia inside of D.C., as well as the Redskins. But this probably doesn't strike too many people as that crazily woke. But why I have to elect Alyssa Milano, the new mayor of Wokeville, if I will, is because the replies to this are sensational. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit and show you the top response here. And the top response by somebody named Kevin Dalton, who, interestingly enough, their Twitter handle is Next LA Mayor, says, did she mean close to my heart or literally on my chest? Because Alyssa Milano has a full line of merchandise with Redskins gear all over it. Honestly, this is really spectacular, and I'm also loving the replies to these because it's just filled with not just stuff that's on the NFL shop, but stuff that's on her own fashion brand and a handful of other things. There's just countless photos of her wearing Washington Redskins clothing, which you got to admit, lunatics, and maybe I'll start a poll here in a little bit to see if you agree that this is the most impressive mayor of Wokeville. And right now, I have to mention that the poll results are so far in favor of Wokeville, so we may have a new brand on our hands. But I'd like to hear from you in the comments, lunatics, because we've had some doozies in our mayor of Wokeville over the last couple of weeks here, but I did not see this one coming. And I'm with you, Jonathan Algren. The crush was hardcore growing up, watching Who's the Boss, and generally, I mean, I think Who's the Boss is probably by far the most famous thing that she's ever done. I didn't she have maybe some sort of, and I'm going to lean on the lunatics here because I didn't look up her IMDb or anything like that. But Alyssa Milano being the new mayor of Wokeville might be her biggest claim to fame since being on Who's the Boss. Or maybe she was on some sort of, for some reason, I think she was on some sort of witch show. So lunatics, I need you to comment and let me know what else she is famous for. There was some, wasn't she on like the WB network for some sort of, you know what? I'm going to do the research. Alyssa Milano, famous for, let's see what comes back, because with the stream being a little bit behind, I don't always get the answer from everybody. So yeah, Charmed. That's right. And Charmed was some sort of show about witches or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. But congratulations to Alyssa Milano, her new mayor of Wokeville. She really absolutely 100% earned it. Phoebe and Charmed, says Jonathan Algren. So Yeah, I'd love to hear from you lunatics too to see if what you think. Is this the best mayor of Wokeville so far? Frankly, I'm pretty proud of it. And you know what? I'm going to throw this poll up here too. Is Alyssa Milano the best mayor of? I'm going to call it Wokeville because that's the winning the poll so far. Yes. No. Um, uh, I'll have to review my notes. Yeah, if you have a preferred mayor of Wolkville over that one, I'd love to hear it. But um, gosh, this one is just too good. I was dying when I was seeing all those comments, and I have to thank loyal lunatic Brandon Mattis for bringing that to our attention here today on hotlou Happy Hour because this is so good. So I do want to. Hey, what's up, David Shirley, Josh Kimber, and Josh Kimber? Welcome back, by the way. You did, I think, throw your hat in for being the what? How did you phrase it? Let me know in the comments because I forgot to go check my uh, Facebook Messenger. But resident fact checker Josh Kimber is back live. Hopefully enjoying the Alyssa Milano thing. But man, when I saw that, when Brandon Mattis said this over, and I saw that she has this entire product line pushing the Washington Redskins, it could not have been more special. Um, so I want to talk a little bit about the Washington Redskins. You know, we talked about it a little bit because there's obviously multiple problematic parts of their name, but you know, me being Indian and growing up on a Native American reservation, and I said that specifically as Native American because I think a lot of people reference it as Native American, but it's funny. Most people on the reservation I grew up on called it Indian. Um, the federal organization that helps with these sort of things is called the Bureau of Indian Affairs. The reservation itself is not called a Native American reservation, it's called an Indian reservation. Um, Although I'm probably misspeaking, that may have changed. But the Redskins thing, I realize that there are these deep seated and deep history around the bounties were that were paid out for the skin of Native Americans that were killed. But here's something that I really want to. Oh, and this is so beautiful, Josh Kimber. That's right. You had thrown in your hat as the chief fact checker because you had sent off that story of um, the previous mayor of Wokeville from Duluth, one of the administrators there, who had tried to move the word chief out of the chief administrator and other types of roles. But it seems pretty relevant that you want to be the chief fact checker. And I approve of that because the word chief itself is an English word. It's not a Native American word. It's not an Indian word. It's not an Ojibwe word. It's in some ways it's culturally appropriated in the other direction. But in any case, um, the question I have to that I wonder about these sort of things is I don't think that there is a human alive right now that references the word Redskins in the sense that it was used in the most derogatory way, which is most of the argument that people had used it in the past as a reason to change the name. In fact, I would argue, just like this happened with the North Dakota Fighting Sioux, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, that the association with the name is overall and overwhelmingly positive now. And not only that, but there is not only a complete absence of people using it in a derogatory way, the people who did use it that way have been dead for probably decades, if not a century. And with that in mind, the question I have to ask myself, and I hope you know, am communicating this well to all of the lunatics here. Yeah, and thank you for tuning in here, lunatic Brandon Mattis, for saying the tribe that your ancestors are from also goes by Indian, the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians, which I think is relatively. I won't even say common. I think it's overwhelmingly in that direction. But what I do want to say is that the word redskin itself, I wonder if, is it fair now to take a word that was once used in, I'll, I don't think there's any disagreement here, in as derogatory a way as possible. Like I can't even, like there are very few words in the English language that seem more derogatory, and if you don't need to list them, I'm sure they're already in your mind. But the, can we try to completely torpedo the meaning of a word based on the way that a bunch of people who have been dead used it and have been dead now for decades or certainly generations? And, with that in mind, like trying to pretend that that word is now being used in a derogatory context just because it exists and was used in a much different context a long time ago, does that mean that all words that are used in that way are dedicated to a fate of that nature? Or can words actually have some sort of evolution towards a positive thing? And we talked about this in the last Mayor of Wokedale with the Hawaiian and pineapple thing. Like pineapples and the word Hawaiian are overwhelmingly positive and in a positive sense. And for people to fight over not calling Hawaiian pizza just because there's a pineapple on it, and pineapple is somehow a long time ago represented colonization, even though by today's standards, I think most people understand that Hawaii grows a lot of pineapple, even if that wasn't true a long time ago. To take something that has evolved into super positive meaning and re or uninvent the positive meaning in a way to suggest that now people are not using that word in a derogatory way, nor are they trying to hang on to some sort of derogatory element of that meaning. I don't, and I don't know that it's fair to associate a thing like that that has completely evolved into something entirely different and only define that thing by the worst association in its history. And I think about this analogously for people, and I try really, really hard to think about this way because I've had to deal with it in my personal life. But you don't want, I don't think, to define anything by the worst thing about them, particularly when that thing hasn't been relevant for generations. And I would argue, really what that kind of revolves around is similarly with people. Like if somebody makes a mistake and that mistake happened 20 years ago, are you going to define that person by that one thing for the rest of their life, especially if they've made amends? And frankly, I don't think that happens often enough. And I think that could be the problem and the very nature of what we're talking about here is pretending that we can take something and in perpetuity define it only by the worst way that a small group of people a long, long time ago perceived it. And is that going to follow that forever? And as we've talked about often with the Mayor of Wokeville and all of the cancel culture news events of recent memory and long memory, is anytime you are actually engaging in cancel culture and weaponizing it, which is also funny because maybe I should share my screen about something Alyssa Milano had tweeted more recently and pinned to the top of her page, but it becomes weaponized. And if you yourself are weaponizing cancel culture of this nature, and I'm going to do it, I might as well. I'm going to scroll up to the top here and find her tweet. I need to go actually back to her Twitter follower. But if you're going to do that, you're only setting yourself up for getting canceled yourself. As I try to share the screen here, what's funny is the day before, or maybe 2 days before, Alyssa Milano had shared, cancel culture is being weaponized by the right and Putin. Take notice of who they are targeting and what is trending. Are they trying to hurt Trump's most vocal critics? Yup. The misinformation campaign has begun. Be vigilant in what you post on social media. Truth matters. And I just can't get over the hypocrisy. Not to mention, it seems like she's got a show called Sorry Not Sorry, which, man, if you are living your life with that slogan, it makes me really, really sad. That slogan's always kind of bothered me a little bit. I like it in the context of being hyper ironic, but uh, not like this. And I have to say, I'm pretty. I'm just so proud of this mayor of Wokedale, and I'm just proud of actually talking about it the last couple of weeks here because I feel like every person that's getting into this like woke culture and cancel culture specifically, because it's okay to be woke. I think we all change our minds about lots and lots of things. And sometimes it is being blinded to something that's right in front of your face. Other times it's not believing something exists because you have never experienced it yourself. And once you do experience it, that stuff happens. I've had life-changing moments like that in my life within the last 3 years. In fact, tomorrow is the anniversary of one of the worst days of my life where that happened to me, which maybe I'll talk about in another show in a different context. But that kind of wokeness does come with sometimes ignorance, but sometimes it comes with just non-exposure and being naive. And so sometimes waking up takes a little bit more time than you realize. So nothing wrong with wokeness, but when you get to this point, you have to realize that just by trying to shame people or kind of going over the top or fighting the wrong fight. And I still think the Redskins thing, while I get it, I think it's fighting the wrong fight and does not represent oppression the way that the woke culture thinks it does. Because nobody uses that word the way that the woke cancel culture enthusiasts out there are trying to suggest that it does in a way to get it canceled. And, you know, maybe Dan Snyder is hanging on to the word too much. And I'm of the mindset that it is going to change eventually. So might as well get it over with. And those kind of inevitabilities are one thing. And fighting the good fight is another thing. But like in this particular case, I would like to see people using the word redskin in the derogatory way at a large enough scale to justify that this is actually some sort of racist term or has been in generations. And the fact that we have gigantic, huge, real problems of oppression actually delegitimizes those fights by fighting over the words like Hawaiian and over the words Redskins. It's overcorrection and it derails trying to make sure that the millions of young Black men in America aren't jailed unfairly for crimes that are now legal in many, many states. And I shouldn't say crimes that are now legal. I should say acts that were once illegal that are now legal. Um, Jonathan, I can't even remember what words that I said, but you said the run of words that I strung together in a beautiful way. Let's make note if Alyssa, you're watching, our wonderful helper that's been doing a great job that we keep calling out positively. Not Alyssa Milano, assistant Alyssa. Alyssa Milano, you still have the mayor of Wokedale or Wokeville distinction today, but apparently, according to Jonathan, I said something very eloquent. So, uh, with that, I'd really like to hear your opinion. You know what? We might as well throw this in the poll too. I'm very curious to hear, and let's create a poll here. And again, if you don't see the polls, it's because you're watching on a watch party, not on the hotlou.com stream. So what I'm going to ask here in the poll for the hotlou.com streams is, do you find the term Redskins genuinely offensive, or do you just sympathize with the people who do consider it offensive? I'm just curious because I, I do sympathize with the people that think it's offensive. I'm just not. I don't have enough sympathy to be persuaded by the argument that it's somehow part of some sort of bizarre cultural oppression. In fact, I honestly, and I said it before, I think it does the opposite. I think that there are many, many Indians out there, myself included, that actually consider these types of sports teams that are named after pieces of Indian culture to be actually framing it in a very, very positive way. And uh, I think it was Jonathan Algren, loyal lunatic Jonathan Algren, that said it really well. That it was the best college jersey ever. And I will say, I think the North Dakota Fighting Sioux college jersey, and I hate saying this because I am a Gopher fan, kicks the crap out of the Minnesota Gopher jersey. I like the colors better. I bleed maroon and gold, but that jersey is a thing of beauty to the point where it has like a Brett Favre effect on me. Every time I got to see um, uh, Brett Favre play, I was always like, well, why is he my favorite player and my least favorite player at the same time? And thankfully, he got to wear purple at some point. Um, so I'm throwing this poll up here, and I'd love to hear you in the comments, lunatics, to let me know if you think the name Redskins is genuinely offensive, or whether you just sympathize with the cause. Because I've read all of the arguments, and I'm still just not persuaded enough to think that it's causing some sort of cultural oppression when, by and large, for decades and generations, people considered it really a beautiful thing. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about, as the lunatics kind of check in the comments, and I appreciate all of the commentary here. And in fact, you know what? I'm going to throw this out here because I don't do it very often. But if you could give the show a like, meaning this stream, if you're watching on the watch party, or throw a comment of any kind in, it's helping a ton. Every time you do that, it's going a long way. And I have to also mention that oddly, we're cross streaming over on hotlou Happy Hour on YouTube. So you can go over there and subscribe as well. So if you don't necessarily want to participate in a live format, or you just want to subscribe to the YouTube channel and interact in a different way, most of the YouTube videos, oddly enough, are only getting well, I shouldn't say oddly enough, but by comparison, the YouTube videos get anywhere from 500 views to 30,000. The YouTube channel, because we're not really promoting it, is getting anywhere from like 0 views to 15. But for the show that I shaved my head, it's already at 400 views. But hop over there if you just want to consume the content in a little bit different way. And the likes go a long way over there too. So the other thing that I wanted to mention, and her name always confuses me, but Jeffrey Epstein's right-hand woman, I want to say it's Ghislaine, or it's not actually pronounced the way that it's spelled. And maybe all the loyal lunatics saw this already, but she was arrested, and I'm going to get a couple of the details wrong, and especially her name. But as I understand it, she basically was part of the process in helping Epstein identify, locate, recruit, and groom these young teenage women that ended up becoming sexually abused by Epstein. And I don't know if Maxwell was a part of the sexual abuse or not. And I haven't had an opportunity to look into all of the charges, but it sounds like she's being charged with dozens of crimes, and that she was finally arrested. And it has perplexed me understanding why she hadn't been arrested, given all of the anecdotal evidence against her. But it's pretty interesting to see that she has been arrested, and it'll be interesting to see if there's additional fallout. And the comment I saw that is going to be interesting is whether or not what fate she has in store. Because obviously Epstein reportedly killed himself in a jail cell, but it's pretty interesting to see uh, what could happen in this particular case. And I don't have any real context on it, or not really fully vetted in the story, but it's always kind of perplexed me that she hadn't been arrested yet, or that there wasn't a ton of public pressure for her to be arrested. Whereas we see this differently. And I suspect, and lunatics, feel free to correct me. Um, okay, Ghislaine or Ghislaine, I don't know. I suspect that it's because she's a woman, and I don't think that societally we look on sexual predators, adult woman sexual predators, the same way that we do with men. Um, but it could also be that, it doesn't appear that she was actually committing the actual sexual abuse, but also I thought I saw some part of it that she may have. So love to hear your thoughts in the comments here too, Lunatics, because this one's going to be a doozy, and I think we're all hoping that she remains safe in custody and actually has to stand trial, and to better understand the exact enormity of the horrible crimes that were committed over there. So that's going to about do it on hotlou Happy Hour here today. But I do want to point out that we're getting a ton of new capabilities here. I'd love to hear what the lunatics have to say about this, about my new facial hair, because I don't have much hair left on the scalp here. We're gonna see what we can do to mix things up. And frankly, this has been my favorite one so far. I'm a big fan of this one. So next time Ruby co-hosts hotlou Happy Hour, I think we need a name for this loyal lunatic. So if you have some name nominations for this loyal lunatic, I'm pretty excited to hear what your suggestions are. Because we already have Ruby as our additional species co-host. We also have, as has become a little bit of a meme, this bat. And I do a terrible bat impression. So we won't be doing that again. But lunatics, we need some sort of name suggestion. That's great, Jonathan, about the Poseidon thing with the beard. But yeah, this we need a name for our new co-host here, sitting on my head. So with that, I wanted to go on the show for about 10 minutes or 15 minutes to talk about the new mayor of Wokeville. And I think we're going to make the full transition to go to Wokeville, because that was pretty clear that most of the lunatics wanted to change over to the mayor of Wokeville. So we got a rebrand in progress. But Alyssa Milano, congratulations. You are the new mayor of Wokeville. You'll be getting a plaque sent your way. Hopefully you'll respond. And if you are watching, we'd like to invite you on the show and come to your defense to better understand where you're coming from. Or, we'd be happy to appear on your horribly named show, Sorry Not Sorry. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into today's hotlou Happy Hour. Just again, programming note, I don't think there'll be a show tomorrow, although we are casually considering doing another very weird show. Maybe not as weird as getting a massage, maybe not as weird as a head shave, but we've got some ideas in mind. And if you want to see some sort of 4th of July kind of style show, we'll try to get that in the mix. Just let us know. But again, the likes, the comments, the shares, I'm telling you, they mean a ton. And I didn't realize how much they really mean. I kind of did, but to see you guys out there doing that stuff helps a lot. Like I said, this is also available at my Twitter channel, or my Twitter handle @hotlou, as well as if you just Google hotlou Happy Hour, you can find it on YouTube. So hotlou Happy Hour YouTube, you'll find it there too. So doubtful that you'll be hearing from me or Mike Loaf tomorrow on the show, but we'll plan on being back on Monday to have the newest mayor of Wokedale elected and to talk about whatever's happened in the day. So thanks everybody for tuning in to today's Hotlou Happy Hour. I am your host,